Hey, what the fuck are you doing?
I have been waiting all season for Dutton Ranch to actually slow down and tell us who Beulah Jackson really is, underneath all that Gucci wearing grizzly energy Beth keeps joking about. And episode 7 finally gave it to us, except it didn't come wrapped in comfort. It came wrapped in a 45-year-old crime. A son who just declared war on his own mother in front of 200 party guests, and an ending that leaves one of this show's most fascinating characters lying on the ground, not knowing if she's going to survive the night. Let's walk through everything that happened in Den of Sin, the 1981 flashback that rewrites everything we thought we knew about Rob Will's father, the anniversary party that goes from celebratory to catastrophic in the space of about 20 minutes, the succession speech that nobody in that room was prepared for, and the cliffhanger that's going to make the next 2 episodes feel impossibly long to wait for. We open in Fort Worth, August 1981. A 20-something Beulah, long before she became the woman running an empire, is out at Billy Bob's with a group of friends, just trying to have a normal night. Her father, never one to let her out of his sight completely, has sent a ranch hand to keep watch over her. And that ranch hand is Mariano, the same Mariano who we already know is Joaquin's father. So right away the show is telling us something important. The Jackson family and the people who work for them have been tangled together for far longer than anyone on this show has let on. While Mariano is doing his job, Beulah meets a charming mechanic named Luke. They dance, there's chemistry, and then Luke does something quietly horrifying. He pays the bartender to keep Mariano distracted just long enough to get Beulah alone. By the time Mariano realizes what's happening and tracks the 2 of them down to a motel, the damage is already done. Beulah is shaken, visibly hurt, and the only thing she asks of Mariano is that he lie for her. Tell her father she fell off a mechanical bull. Nothing more. I genuinely sat with that scene for a long time after it ended, because we already knew from last week's episode that Beulah told Beth a completely different story. That Rob Will's father died in a flood. That was never true. And once you know what actually happened in that motel room in 1981, you understand exactly why Beulah built a version of the story she could actually live inside. Because the real one isn't just painful. It's the kind of thing that explains everything uncomfortable about how she's treated her own son ever since. This isn't a woman who simply had a complicated relationship with Rob Will. This is a woman who has spent decades trying not to look directly at where he came from. And somewhere in that history, Beulah ends up responsible for what happens to Luke. The show doesn't spell out every detail, but it draws a very straight line. This is what people are talking about when they call this episode the one that exposes Beulah's murderous past. 45 years of silence finally cracking open. Now back to the present and to the party that this whole episode is built around. The 10 Petal Ranch's 190th anniversary celebration. Beulah has been planning this for weeks, and she's told Joaquin that tonight is the night she'll announce who takes over the ranch after her. Joaquin, understandably, believes it's him. He's earned it every possible way a person can earn something. He went to college, he got his degree. He has spent years being the responsible one, the one who never gives this family a single reason to doubt him. Beth, Rip, and Carter arrive at the party on horseback, which is honestly such a perfect entrance for these 2 that I almost forgot for a moment how much tension was about to detonate. Beulah greets them like family. She even tells Carter to start calling her Mama B, which says everything about how far this alliance between the Duttons and the Jacksons has come since episode 1. But Carter's night sours fast. He goes looking for Oriana and finds her with another guy entirely. Well-dressed clearly comes from money, introduced simply as Harrison. She brushes Carter off without a second thought. And then Sheriff Wade, who I am increasingly convinced is the most underrated person in this entire show, tells Carter flatly that tonight he's strictly a downstairs guy, while Oriana and Harrison belong upstairs. That is such a casually cruel thing to say to a 19-year-old who is already carrying the weight of everything that happened with Dwight. And you can see exactly how much it costs him to just stand there and take it. Meanwhile, Beth introduces Rip to Zane Nash, the investor backing their new steak business. And there's a sweet little moment where Beth gifts Zane a pair of spurs, and Beulah offers to help him break him in on a ride the next morning. And in between all the business talk, Beulah sneaks off for a quiet moment with Everett. And honestly, whatever chemistry these two have built across the season is fully on display here. It's tender, it's real, and it makes what happens next hurt even more. Because Oriana pulls Beulah away from all of it and into her office, and sitting there, feet kicked up on his own mother's desk like he owns the place, is Rob Will. Oriana already knew he was back in town. She didn't tell her grandmother. She just let Beulah walk into that office completely unprepared. Rob Will has read the speech Beulah was about to give, the one naming Joaquin as her successor, and he is not having it. He tells her flat out that this ranch is his legacy. When she refuses to budge, he threatens to kill Joaquin, not as a heated outburst, calmly, like he's simply stating a fact about himself. He reminds her that being ruthless is exactly what she raised him to be. And then Beulah walks back out to that party and gives her speech. And it's not Joaquin's name that comes out of her mouth. It's Rob Will's. I did not see that coming, and based on the reactions in that room, neither did anyone else. Rip, Beth, Everett, Zane, all of them visibly disturbed. Zane is furious in a completely different way because he didn't agree to go into business with a known drug addict, and he made it very clear that the only reason he trusted this deal in the first place was Beth and Rip's involvement, not the Jackson family's internal chaos. And Joaquin is just gone, stunned, blindsided in the worst possible way after a lifetime of doing everything right. Juan Pablo Raba, who plays Joaquin, talked to TV Line about exactly what that moment does to his character, and I think it's worth repeating word for word because it explains so much about where this story is heading. He said, "Imagine dedicating your entire life to one thing, then realizing they're not going to give it to you." He wanted to do it the right way. He went to A&M, he got his degree, and he's been the good boy who keeps everybody out of trouble. And then he said something that I genuinely think is a warning shot for the rest of this season. He said, people tend to underestimate the one who isn't loud, the one who won't fight you face to face, because that's exactly the person quietly watching from the outside, waiting for the moment to catch you off guard. He said directly that Rob Will is about to be surprised by what Joaquin does next. Joaquin doesn't leave quietly either. Before storming off, he confronts Rob Will in the parking lot and tells him he should have killed him when he had the chance, because he is never getting that chance again. That is not a man backing down, that's a man recalculating. In the middle of all this chaos, Carter has his own breakdown. He comes storming out of the house carrying a stuffed bullhead, snaps one of its horns clean off, and Rip has to physically grab him and pull him out of the party. After everything with Oriana flaunting Harrison in his face, After everything still unresolved from Dwight's death, I think this was simply the moment something in Carter finally cracked. He's 19. He's been carrying a lot, and nobody at this party noticed until it was already breaking. And then, as if the night hadn't already collapsed entirely, Beulah collapses too. A possible heart attack, possibly a stroke. The episode doesn't clarify which. Everett is right there beside her instantly, calling for a medevac, and the screen cuts away before we know whether she's going to make it. There's one more thread I want to leave you with because I think it matters more than it might seem at first. Beulah told Beth back in episode 6 that she effectively adopted Joaquin after his father, Mariano, ran afoul of the law. Now that we know Mariano was the man who covered for her after what happened to Luke, it raises a question this show clearly wants us sitting with. Did Mariano take the fall for something Beulah did? Did he go away or take some kind of legal consequence, specifically to protect her? And is raising his son the only way Beulah has ever known how to repay a debt that large? We don't have the answer yet, but I would bet everything that detail was not placed there by accident. 2 episodes remain before the July 3rd finale, and Dutton Ranch just handed us a genuinely combustible final stretch. Rob, Will, and Oriana revealed as a unified, calculating threat. Joaquin pushed somewhere he's never let himself go before, and Beulah Jackson's life hanging in the balance after finally telling us the truth about where she came from. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think Beulah survives this? And after that parking lot threat, do you think Joaquin is finally about to become the dangerous one? Because I don't think for 1 second he was bluffing.